Next, the chair of the House Intelligence Committee who led the Trump impeachment effort, Congressman Adam Schiff. It's good to have you back in a short window. Thank you for responding to the need of the news tonight.
You bet. Good to be with you again.
Now, what do you think about this? Do you believe that this is just an ugly bluff, or do you believe this is a moment where Trump can say to these guys, I want to go out looking good, change the amount?
Chris, it's really hard to tell. I think we're seeing a real descent in the president's, abilities, capability, attention, focus, conduct, and it's going to probably get worse over the next 30 days. But the reality is, if the president didn't like the amount that the Republicans in Congress were willing to go along with, he should have said something. He's been completely missing in action, and this has been true not just since the election, although it certainly was heightened after the election, but for months now, as we have tried to get a relief package going, he's been completely disengaged. Why wait until the House passes a bill and then the Senate passes a bill to say, oh, suddenly I'd like the checks to be bigger? Now, it is true, Chris, the only thing he's ever cared about in the relief package are the checks that have his name on them. But nonetheless, if he wanted to make them bigger, he could have weighed in, and he didn't. So I don't know what this last-minute gambit is all about. But look, if he's serious, if he's going to put pressure on McConnell and Senate Republicans to go along with him, I'm all for it. The Speaker, as you pointed out, said we can take up a bill ASAP by unanimous consent to increase the amount of these checks. So we're willing if he can get the Republicans on board.
Now, I mean, hopefully you can't even see. I'm biting my lip here because this is so. I know we use this word and we abuse it in the media, and we shouldn't. But this is dangerous for these families out there. I know you know. I know you're a responsive congressman. The need is very great in your state. I mean, the outpouring of people from around this country who tell me they are starving and need this money, and they needed it months and months ago. My concern is this. Let's say it is a bluff, and he goes to them and says, give me more money, and they say, no, beat it. Now what happens if he says, fine, I'm going to veto it because he's all about, taking it too far and doubling down? Do you have the votes to override a veto in this bizarro world of re-Trumplican politics where the same guys who don't want to give him more money for the checks may not vote against him to override the veto because they fear him, so the people don't get the checks and we don't get a bill signed into law?
Chris, you're absolutely right. We don't know. First of all, you're absolutely right about the need out there. In my district, where there are no rooms in ICUs, where businesses have had to shut down, where there are long lines for food, people need the help. And that is true all over the country. They just can't wait anymore. And so this has a real direct impact on them, their livelihood. Certainly it's a even more bitter blow during the holidays, but it's a matter of food on the table and a roof over their heads. But here we are. We passed the bill in the House. We passed the bill in the Senate. Suddenly the president weighs in. Is he serious about vetoing it? And if he does, will the Republicans who voted to pass it suddenly change course? They're capable of that, Chris. Look, these are the same Republicans who said, we're not going to impeach him, even though essentially we find him guilty because we think the voters should decide. And once the voters decided, they said, well, we don't like what the voters decided, so we're going to join a lawsuit to overturn the election. They have shown no floor below which they will not go to appease this president.
Well, that's what I just argued. I just argued that this should be easy for him. If you get men and women supposedly of goodwill to either be silent or even worse, complicit in what they know is a fraud about questioning the election, giving people more money that's not even their money, it's the taxpayers' money, should be easy for him. But when do you think, I just have one more question about this. We're hearing from our congressional reporter, Phil Mattingly, that you guys are thinking of putting this on the floor Thursday. But won't you know tonight, tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon, if the Republicans are going to go anywhere near it?
Well, Chris, I have to think that the Republicans are not going to go anywhere near this. But we're willing to try. I'm willing to go back to the House floor, do whatever I can, whatever time, hours it takes to get it done. I'm sure that some Republicans will object to unanimous consent, so we'd all have to come back and vote on it. But I'm all for it. If we can get more money to the American people, we should all come back and vote on it. But I have little confidence that this lame duck president is going to get that kind of a bill through the Senate. And maybe he doesn't even care, because maybe, as you point out, this is just about him posturing in a way that he thinks will help him down the road. The suffering of the American people has never been all that much an issue for him. It's always only about what's in it for Donald Trump.
Now, I mean, look, the good news is you guys probably had to come back to vote on that NDAA anyway, another piece of legislation that he's supposed to veto or expected to. But, you know, I hate to even say this and exacerbate an obvious problem in this country, but these are his people who are hungry in this country. These are Trump voters. These are, you know, look, it should be that we're all his people, right? He's supposed to be the president of everybody. But these are his people. So we'll see what happens. I'm really worried about the delay here, really derailing this situation. Then you wind up going away for the new year and you come back and people don't have the checks. And who knows what happens leading up to the inauguration and stalling this even further. I mean, every day counts. And then we have the pardons that come out. I am not as shocked as some people are by this pardon list. I expected him to take care of his friends. That's what he does. What is your biggest concern on the list?
Well, I think it's really difficult to point out what's the most egregious on this, but look at the categories. Republican corrupt public officials who endorse Trump, they get a pardon. People who kill innocent civilians in a theater of war, they get a pardon. They're heroes on Fox, I guess, they get a pardon. People who lied to cover up for themselves or for the president, they get a pardon. It's just another body blow against the rule of law in this country. When you think about the damage that the military pardons are going to do to military justice, to our relations with Iraq, when you think about the damage it's going to do to, public integrity, to consider, well, people who insider trade or people who defraud, supporters, if they're elected officials of the same party as the president, well, then the law doesn't apply to them. It's just a terrible injury. Again, another injury to our democracy by this corrupt president. But look, it's like the old adage of garbage in, garbage out. You elect a corrupt president, you get a corrupt result.
Yeah, so much for draining the swamp. But here's my concern, and tell me if I'm off base on this, that this is a nice signal to people that, listen, do whatever you can for me between now and January 6th, or maybe even after that. It doesn't matter. I don't care if they come after you. They can't do anything to you that I can undo. Do anything you can to keep me in power. I mean, doesn't this send that signal as clear as anything?
It does. And, frankly, that's been his message all along, which is, if you lie for me, if you cover up for me, if you're loyal to me, I will abuse my power to protect you. On the other hand, if you cooperate with authorities and you expose corruption, then I will come after you. If you stand up to me, I will come after you. When he praises Paul Manafort, another multi-convicted felon supporter of his former campaign manager, giving private polling data to someone linked to Russian intelligence, when he does stuff like that and he praises someone like Manafort because Manafort wouldn't cooperate against him, but he condemns others like Michael Cohen, who did cooperate, calls them a rat. He's acting like an organized crime figure, except this organized crime figure is the president of the United States with the power to give people a get-out-of-jail-free card.
Congressman, again, thank you. We just had you on the show. You're always welcome. It really mattered tonight. Thank you for coming through, sir. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Chris.